I know it's football, but these little nagging injuries, this bug has hit the Jaguars training camp, but I'll give you a reason to still be optimistic.
You are Locked On Jaguars, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What up, good people? I'm Tony Wiggins, the host of the Locked On Jaguars podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Join all the action at FanDuel.com to play daily dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a homer this Major League Baseball season. Let's hit a home run on this show today, man. I'm going to let you know where we're going to end up, and that is why you don't assume or trade players when you don't have to. Right in the middle of the show, cause for concern? What am I talking about? Yeah, that bug that has jumped all over the Jaguars at camp. All right, so let me give it to you. I'm not going to sit here and play doctor or play trainer. I'm going to give you a little bit of a list. Y'all see me put my literature all up in the screen here. I'm going to give you a little bit of list of the guys that are either banged up or whatever. This is coming from today. Pat McCary announced that he had shoulder surgery. I don't know when he had the surgery, but he announced that he had shoulder surgery. That was news to a lot of people who are boots on the ground, on the grass, if you will, for the Jacksonville Jaguars media. However, we don't know. We know he's been dealing with a back issue, right? So we don't know, and I don't even know if they know or he knows when he's going to be available, but you can assume that there'll be some news for that later on. The one that caught us a little bit by surprise today, there were a couple of them. One is LaQuint Allen. He's done for training camp. That doesn't mean that he won't be ready to go when the season starts, but the Jaguars don't have to come to a conclusion with that because they don't have to even say anything about what's going on with him until they have to make a decision on the 53 at the beginning of the year. So NFL protocol will kind of give you an idea of when and where you'll get some more information on that. We'll get those two out of the way. Wyatt Milam, he's day-to-day. Sounds like if he had to, he could play. If there was a game, he could play. Parker Washington, day-to-day. Sounds like if he had to, he could play. He could go. So, and not to mention Walker Little, sounds like if he had to, he could go. But he's missing a little bit. It's just like you're like, okay, can it happen anymore? Can it be anymore? We already got Cole Van Lanen out there. So he's out. We don't know when he's coming back. When are some of these questions going to be answered, man, before these games start? And the answer is we don't know. In fact, we don't even know how they're going to divvy up the snaps come Friday when they play the Carolina Panthers. There'll be joint practice tomorrow. I'll be out there. But come Friday when they play the Carolina Panthers in the preseason game, it hasn't even been announced. I don't think they've made the decision yet on how they're going to go about that. But everything you see and do, everything you see them do, or everything everything you see and everything you hear about them doing, there you go. That's what I mean. It is all geared, and they will make this point very, very clear. It is all geared to having everyone, all hands on deck as much as they can, as much as possible when the games start happening. So has this been a particularly physical training camp as opposed to last year? I would assume you could probably say, yeah, but I also don't think that has much to do with it. It's just something that happens. This football, man, injuries happen to everyone in the NFL. They happened to the Jaguars last year, not so much in camp, but once the season started, they lost Travis Hunter. They lost for a little while Eric Murray. For a little while, Trayvon Walker. And for most of the season, Jordan Lewis, who is another one that is banged up. And I think it's just maintenance. I know when he came back from the Liz Frank last year, there's this automatic assumption that what is going on with him has something to do with that. And it does not. From what I understand, it's just whatever. Ain't nothing going to keep him from the field. Most of the time when you see a staff, this staff in particular, as it was told to me today, a lot of the things, unless it's something that just came up. Oh, by the way, Chuma Edoga, who was down in the game the other day, looked really, really bad. Chuma Edoga, he's day-to-day, but I think they'll be fine with him too. With Travis Hunter, the way his snaps are divvied out, that was established in the offseason, how it was going to go. And they haven't had any setbacks. So don't read too much into when you see Travis here or when you see Travis there. All of the plans when it comes to him, and he's no different from anyone else. Cole Van Lanen, Chris Rodriguez, anytime something happens, they get with the medical staff, they have a plan, they know how they're going to implement the plan and bring guys back. I do believe sometimes when you see a player come back from an injury in training camp, especially here with the Jaguars this year, and then you see him for a couple of days go hard, and then you see him in street clothes the next day or hear about him in street clothes the next day, it's very, very easy to assume, oh, he had a setback. Oh, something happened. No, that is not the way it works. I think treatment is something that is incremental, and it is planned, it's predetermined. So when you see this happening, in fact, I look Tony Baselli right in his face. I say, so most of the stuff, he said, yep. He said, there was a plan, there was a process that we were going to follow with Travis and a lot of other these guys. And the only thing that changes that is when you see something happen to a player who wasn't injured. And now we have to, on a need-to-know basis, give out the information. And that's me saying that. So this is what I kind of got from it. It does, it's just like, but this is what I told you. It's like you don't know where the surprises are going to come from. And this is going to feed into our thinking when it comes to what do you do when these things happen. Remember when I told you you're not going to find offensive linemen that can help your football team out? You're just not going to find them. Unless a team is trading somebody that's due to make a whole bunch of money, or a team is trading somebody who has value because one of their younger players that has shown promise looks like he's ready to push that dude out of the way. I'll give you an example. It happened during the year, but remember at the trade deadline about 3 years ago when Minnesota said, hey, you want Ezra Cleveland? The Jaguars were like, hell yeah, we want Ezra Cleveland. And I was thinking like, okay, they traded a 6th-round pick for him. Maybe he's okay or what. No, he was actually pretty decent. It's just that they had somebody else. And they knew they were going to lose Ezra Cleveland in free agency. If they didn't do something, they weren't going to be able to re-sign him. So not everything that you see or hear is like the end of the world, but it's also why every single position matters on this team, every single player, why they want competition. Because as much as I call it the I word that I don't like mentioning here on this podcast, injuries happen. This is a gladiator sport. It is going to be about, it is not just a battle, it is a war of attrition. Whoever can stay upright and have the most depth and manage that all year will have the best chance to win come late in the season. So never fear. The Jacksonville Jaguars are fine. It doesn't look like there's a whole bunch of over concern from the players, from anybody else, but it does serve as a warning. And that warning is, don't just assume that just because something isn't major or catastrophic, that injuries can't be an issue. Because if you have a bunch of nagging issues with injuries in the same position group, like right now on offensive line, that could give you a problem in the preseason when you don't want to play certain people, when you don't plan on playing your ones longer, when you don't have very many twos because your ones didn't play and you got a couple of them out. So some of your twos are making up your ones. And now you got to play your threes against somebody else's twos. And you need a good offensive line to evaluate your quarterbacks and your running backs, because it's not fair that they're playing behind dudes that are pretty much going to be trading stocks in a couple of weeks. That's where it becomes problematic. And then you're not doing it on your terms where you get to go out and have guys practice when you want them to practice. So from that point, it is a bit of a concern. It's a cause for concern, but it is not a cause or a reason to panic. And we will not panic here on Locked On Jaguars, because we are just not the panicking type. Here's what we're going to do, though. We're going to tell you why it's a cause of concern and why you should not be overly concerned to the point of, well, not being able to sleep at night. I'll talk to you about that in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Ross Jackson, host of the Locked On at Saints podcast, and today's Locked On episode is brought to you by our friends at Basque and Lather. I've been using Basque and Lather's all-natural, 100% organic hair care products for my beard for a couple of years now, and it's been a lifesaver because I used to have some bad beard care habits. I'm talking over-the-counter shampoo and the beard type stuff that created this brittle, scratchy, and uncomfortable beard that I just had to wear around all the time. But now the game done changed. Thanks to Basque and Lather, I got their beard care starter kit, which gave me shampoo, conditioner, oil balm, and their hair growth stimulator formula as well. And now my beard is full. It's soft but strong, and the confidence is on 10, and it's all thanks to Basque and Lather. Explore viral bestsellers and products of healthier hair of all types from Basque and Lather. Go to baskeandlatherco.com and use the promo code LOCKEDON for 20% off. That's 20% off at baskeandlatherco.com. Code Locked On.
All right, we ripping and running here on Locked On Jaguars, talking about injuries, being banged up. You just heard from Ross Jackson. Ross Jackson for the covers the New Orleans Saints for Locked On Saints. Yeah, and in that game of the other day, we were kind of banged up, and you saw with the injuries and then with more guys getting banged up, how early on the Jaguars didn't look good. And that may have caused a little trepidation about people who made a bunch of wild predictions. I heard somebody say, we're going 16-1. First of all, why did you say 16-1? Who's the one game? You can't say 16-1. If we went over 15, man, you just got to go ahead and say undefeated. Undefeated. Yeah, I said it. There's a reason why only one team in history has been undefeated. It's because of the attrition. It's because of injuries. It's because of all kinds of things. It's because of bad weather. The Jaguars should not be overly concerned. I know we have spent all offseason telling you how they are going to attack all of they wanted to find an edge last year. Now this year they're attacking that edge, and they're attacking everything. They're going for it. They're embracing the smoke, basically, is what that is. We got ways of saying it in coach speak, and we got ways of saying it in T-Wig speak. So we're going to say it in T-Wig speak. They want all the smoke. They ain't running from nothing. That's what it is, right? They might be running from the doctor or the trainer, though, with the way that it looks right now. And it's nagging stuff, and it's small stuff, right? I forgot to mention Eric Armstead had an injury last year. See, we beat up on Eric about his play and talked about, hey, man, we need to get another 3 technique. I was in the front of the line yelling and screaming that stuff. Turns out my man was banged up, though, right? And sometimes I wonder what it's like for a player to have to hear that, knowing that you just hurt. This goes back, though, to something that, ironically, EVP Tony Baselli told me this when we did radio back. It's a place here called Enterprise Park. And this is before I was on the flagship, before they were the flagship, but it was many of the same people, right? But it was a whole different game. Anyway, this is when Baselli was doing radio. The play-by-play voice is Frank Frangie now. But we were actually, Frank Frangie and Tony Baselli did a show together, and Frank was on vacation. So normally I would do other shows, but I sat in for a week with Tony, and Tony and I were talking about a whole bunch of stuff. And he said, don't nobody care about you if you're hurt. And I said, well, what about you, man? You were on the sideline. You were like the captain of the team. You're all pro. He said, doesn't matter. Those guys are playing. When you're playing football, and you probably heard this story 1,000 times, 1,000 different ways with different characters in it. But no, when you playing, man, nobody worry about nobody that's hurt. Yeah, you're over there rah-rah and you're doing this. If you can't help them on the field, they don't care how good of a player you are. They are focused solely on what they have to do out there. I'm gonna give you a little. I like crime movies, so I'm gonna give you a little crime movie analogy. You see, your favorite character has to go to prison. I'm not telling y'all that y'all like people that are criminals. Every now and then, though, you watch a show, you kind of get endeared to somebody that's got to go do a little time, right? They got to go do a stretch. And as it turns out, somebody tells them, you got to hide that love. You got to hide that love, man. Don't take that in there. You got to worry about what's going on in there. You can't even focus on nothing out here because you're dealing with a bunch of knuckleheads and a whole bunch of rigmarole up there. And it's advice that you got to shut it down. You got, hey man, yeah, I see you on visitation, but I can't sit here and think about you all day, making everything soft. It's kind of like that. It's like your feet are there. When you're in the game, your feet are there. You ain't listening to nobody whose feet aren't there. Dudes hitting you blindside, popping you in your ear hole with the top of their helmet, doing God knows what underneath that scrum when y'all trying to get a fumble. That is not stuff that's for sensitive people. And it's definitely not for people that are thinking about some dude over there with his hat on backwards, no matter how good he is. So the part of this is you can't get leadership if your best players are out or they're nagging. It's next man up. And that's why people talk about next man up so much. So my question is this cause for concern? Is this cause for concern, especially with Cole Van Lanen? Especially with nobody saying Anton Harrison was moving to left tackle. He spent the majority of OTAs and all of that at right tackle. And then all of a sudden they realize we got to put him at left tackle. So I know the fans think like this. Okay, what happened? Sometimes there's just a natural progression of things. I have taken the side of this that Anton going to left tackle had nothing to do with all of this stuff. I may have to backtrack on that now because it's been so many injuries. But I was of the thinking that this has just to do with him and the long-term plan with him and his maturity and the fact that he is now walking in all of that potential. All of that potential we talked about, how good he could be as a first-round pick, he is basking and walking in that. He walks around like that. So it's almost as if he commanded their attention enough to say, no, we're going to move him to the other side. And it was very beneficial to do that at that point because, well, the dude that we had over there who really wasn't over there his whole career, Cole Van Lanen was playing guard for us. We put him over there because we had to, right? And then he did such a good job in the climate that we're in free agency, knowing that average offensive tackles are getting a whole bunch of money. There weren't going to be a bunch of them in free agency. There was a decent draft for left tackles in the draft, but not like that. You didn't want a team to just snatch him up and give him the deal the Jaguars gave him. Then he had surgery. So you're thinking like, okay, well, could have been because Walker Little wasn't playing up to par. Because before he got hurt, they did this. I'm of the thinking that this is just me. This is Tony Wiggins. And if I'm wrong, and y'all can come blame me for it. But I was of the thinking that the move was made because of the growth of Anton Harrison, that he grew into that and the staff saw it and said, you know what? We got to make decisions on him long term for us. We need him over there. He's capable of doing it. Now, what happens with the other side? Because the troublesome side of all of this is the right guard, right tackle position. Pat McCary had back surgery. Folks, I'm not trying to scare you. What I am telling you is this. I recently had a procedure where I met with one of the best surgeons in Florida who did my right hip. I was having a certain pain in a certain area that was very, very familiar the first time I had prior to knee surgery. And I always knew I had to get the left hip done. I'm giving you a little bit of chance to understand where I'm coming from. He told me that pain ain't coming from your hip. Dude, you do have back arthritis, right? Yeah, I got back, nerve damage, left shoulder. I got neuropathies. I got all kinds of stuff going on, man. So when I start hurting, one, I don't know where it's coming from because the kind of pain that I have usually comes from somewhere where it's not actually hurting. The other thing is he said, that's your back. I said, well, you know what? We can see if this hip needs to get fixed. And if it does, I'll do it at some point during the season. And I told my primary what he said. And then I proceeded to tell my primary this. I ain't having surgery on my back. It's just going to have to hurt. Because once you go in, that is usually the beginning. While you may get some relief, it changes your life. So this is the experience. And I thank y'all for letting me take y'all through a minute and a half of that. But this is the experience where the concern for me with Pat McCary is once you start having surgery on that back, man, it is the beginning of nothing but you just trying to stay comfortable. And ain't no way you going to stay comfortable out there banging up against 320-pound guys every single you can't do it. So I am bracing myself that while Pat McCary may offer the Jaguars something this year, I don't know if Pat McCary is going to ever offer the Jaguars what they need to be the starting right guard on this team. And that leaves us to what do we do? And I'll tell you exactly what that is in just a second here on Locked On Jaguars. Today's show is sponsored and brought to you by FanDuel, man. Baseball fans, if you think you know who's hitting a homer today, FanDuel is giving you a free chance to call your shot with Daily Dingers. It's easy to play. Just make your free pick for who you think will hit a home run in their game. If you're right, you'll receive a profit boost to use on your next bet for a chance at extra innings, or extra winnings, rather. Best of all, you can make a free pick every day throughout the Major League Baseball season. Daily Dingers is another fun way to stay engaged with every day's games. Whether you're following your team, your favorite team, or keeping an eye on a matchup across the league, every game has someone capable of going deep, and now you get the chance to make your prediction before the first pitch. I promise y'all, I was watching the Braves the other night, and I know Ronald Acuna just came back from injury not too long ago, and people were wondering if he was going to be what he was. And I thought about Daily Dingers. Just when I pick up my phone to call a buddy of mine, bang, Acuna hits a home run. So see, you got to think fast and be on this stuff. If you're ready to play the game tonight, join all the action at FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com to play Daily Dingers and make your free pick on who's hitting a homer. Play ball and swing for the fences on FanDuel, an official partner of Major League Baseball. Let's kick it on down the road as we come down the home stretch here on Locked On Jaguars. I got myself off the pup list and went to practice today. I'll be there tomorrow as well for joint practices, and I'm glad that I'll be able to do that for you, and we'll see you then. And of course, I'll give you all the information you need and everything you need to get you through the day as I check the ticker to see what's going on with the Jaguars as I'm speaking to you. But the question is what do you do, man? This is why I kept telling people in the offseason when folks were like, we need to trade Pat McCary. We need to trade Walker Little and get something for him. Like right now. You see why you wait? This is why you wait. Imagine the Jaguars not having Pat McCary, and you can say, well, they don't have him now. Yeah, but they did. They did when it started. So I know everyone wanted to see Wyatt Milam. And now that you've seen Wyatt Milam, you realize he probably ain't ready. I'm thinking Emmanuel Pregnon has to play right guard. There've been some exploration, if you will, with Ezra Cleveland at right tackle. And what I believe this is this is a situation to say, okay, what do we have? Who do we have? What do we got? Because Chuma Edoga plays on the right side. He's a right guard who can give you minutes and spins at left tackle. Walker Little, who's out and he's day-to-day, is a dude that can play right tackle, right guard, and left tackle if you have to. So he's your Swiss Army knife. And sometimes we confuse the dude that's the Swiss Army knife with the dude that's great. Just because you're good at a whole bunch of different stuff doesn't make you great at any of it. And if Walker Little was great at any of it, he's being paid handsomely, he would be starting at one of those spots. And now it looks like he may not. And even if he did, it would be because of injury. But this is why you don't just trade able-bodied offensive linemen in the National Football League. They are hard to find. It's also why they drafted 2 last year. They drafted, I believe, 1 this year. I have always said a team needs to draft 3 every 2 years. No matter who you are, I don't care who you are. Draft 3 every 2 years, whether it be 2 inside, 1 outside, 2 outside, 1 inside, 1 outside, 1 inside, and then 1 that can do both. Someone that has center capability, who can also play other positions. Now, I just told you that Jonah Monheim can play center, guard, and tackle if he needs to. Probably way better at center, and he's your center of the future. So that's something that the Jaguars have figured out. Walker Little, even though they didn't draft him, he's on the team. He can play up and down the line, play everything except center. Pat McCary has splits at every single position during his career on the offensive line. Anton Harrison was playing right. He was a more natural left. He's grown into it. Now he's back at left. Ezra Cleveland's working at right tackle, even though he's a left guard. I've always made the David Deal connection with guys that play left guard and right tackle. In this case, in Deal's case, it was left tackle and right guard, so it was a little bit of a switch. But you see the movement and the versatility and what they're doing. What they're actually doing, and this is just my opinion, I did not ask this question. Are they trying to find out what these groups look like in case they have to go there? Are they hoping to see something that looks a certain way when they do it? Or is it a just in case? Like, just in case we don't get this guy back in time. I think Cole Van Lanen is trending to be ready to go at some point during the first couple of weeks of the season. Even if they say he's ready to go week 1, how can he be and he hasn't gotten all greased up? But you do see him out at practice. You do see him running around. You do see him over in shorts working on the side. He doesn't look hindered. I think his progression, and he is tracking towards their initial plan for him. And they've been disciplined enough to not allow the things that they've seen transpire in practice so far to change that. And that means something, right? The most difficult part of this for me is Wyatt Milam. I haven't heard or seen anyone say anything super negative, but I also haven't heard his name mentioned when it comes to the positivity that you would hope is associated with him in his second year, especially in a situation like this. This is right around the time that you would hope he would be turning that corner. So all of these injuries would be mitigated to a certain extent, because you would have your young guy, your future, maybe your best player, the youngest guy you have. Maybe he would be ready to go. I think they may end up playing Jonah Monheim a little bit more away from his natural position of center, that he is going to be the future at that center position. I think they're going to have to go and move in a different direction with him. And he may be the swinger. He may be the 6th or 7th guy. He's the backup center for sure, but he may be the dude that you go to. He may be this year's Cole Van Lanen. He may be this year's Walker Little, especially if Chuma done it. People want to get rid of and run Chuma off. And I said on the squad show a couple of weeks ago, that'd be a mistake, because he provides versatility and depth. And now people are hoping he's not hurt for a longer period of time. This is just why you can't assume that guys are going to make progressions, or you can't assume that, we're fine here, we're going to get rid of able-bodied guys that have played snaps. And also some of the young guys, man, I think Pregnon is on his way to playing at left or right guard. Monheim is cool. Wyatt Milam is the one that has not really developed the way that we think, at least from the outside looking in. That's what it looks like. Who can be available? You know what? Go look at Locked On NFL Scouting and subscribe, because Joe Marino and Kyle Krabs, that's a podcast here on our network where they are so smart, they will make you a smarter fan all the way around. So make sure you make Locked On NFL Scouting your second listen. And hang in there, man. Don't freak out. It's just the preseason, but we'll find out more the next couple of days of the playing packages that we'll see in the preseason game number 2 against Carolina. But we'll see you here on Locked On Jaguars.